Something different today.
Different space.
Hello and welcome to the Dance of the
Yay.
Soul. Regan Forston and I, Natasha Venter, are here to support you in the Dance of the Soul, which is actually the dance of life. You know, because we're here to support you doing the work that you're called to do in this knowings of, oh my gosh, where are we at, and that kind of thing. So I'm Natasha Venter again. I am a multi-life intuitive. I have a soul calling to really support everyone going through life. And it's not that I'm here to do the work for you, but it's me to give you a perspective, a witnessing, a lovingness, how do we do it? And I give a lot of life stuff to help us. And hello, Veronica, welcome.
Oh, wow.
And
She's here right on time.
right on time. I'm so grateful where we were a minute or two late, and so it's one of those things that, when we go through life, it's just nice to have somebody with us to say, hey, have you thought about this perspective? And so that's what I like to do. And I do mediumship. Hi, Stephanie. I do mediumship. I even do feng shui, house blessings, clearings. I see energy. I'm an energy seer for many lifetimes also. So it's that one of those things that I'm practicing what I've lived. So here I am. And Regan, thank you for being here. It's our Monday again.
I know. Good old Monday. About what we've been doing this about 2.5 years now. I look forward to it. I know Veronica's here a lot. And was it Stacy's here?
Stephanie.
Oh, Stephanie. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And we have other people popping in. And I don't know. It's just this growing experience that you and I have, along with helping everybody else. Because, like every week, between the weeks, like since last week, I've had a few experiences that I feel I've grown or learned more about life. For people that a lot of people watching don't know what I do, but I'm with the Newton Institute, and I help people achieve a deep state of trance. And we found a way for people to go to the other side for a couple hours and come back. It's like having a near-death experience without the death part, as I always kind of jokingly say.
Yes.
People say, "Oh, it's got to be scary," but I had a booth and did a speech at a Soul Search conference on Saturday, and they had they probably had a couple thousand people that came through, and I was one of the speakers. I had a full house. The speaker before me had about 5 or 6 people in the room, and so I'm thinking not going to be too many people, but had a full house there of people wanting to hear how can this be possible, and so I had about 20 people sign up for a phone consultation. So I'll do a free phone consultation with them, and most of them will book a Life Between Life session, so they can go to the other side and see what it's like and visit loved ones and get any questions they have answered about their life and so forth. Because life is difficult, like we're going to talk about today, and this is about today when you get what do you call it? Sometimes it's like you're just driving down and someone goes through a stop sign and hits you. You're just whistling, having a good day, and then you get sideswiped, or I'm trying to think what the other name for that is. Bump, bump, bump. Someone T-bones you.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
And life actually T-bones us without cars. It's a shock. And that's one thing that I felt, or we felt, it was time to talk about life altering experiences. And I think we just did not too long ago, but it seems like that I have witnessed so many people going through their own fire, their own moments. And I know that, I had, and I'm not going to speak of it, but there was something personal I'm going through a little bit. And then at the same time, I had a friend who was going through something that was physical. And, it's just one thing after another that we're dealing with something. And like, I was watching this, how you watch on those little videos on Facebook, and there's this guy that, Asher, he does dog rescues. Asher.
I haven't heard of him.
Yeah, but he takes these old dogs and skin and bones, and they come into his arms and he hugs them.
Oh, wow.
and he did a quick video, and I don't necessarily, I think I follow him, but I don't necessarily, but he pops, because I watch him, so he pops through, the algorithm thing, and like he was saying that that his one of his favorite pups passed, she had a heart problem. She was disowned because she couldn't create puppies, and
Oh
so
wow.
she was disowned, and so he ended up getting her, and she turned out to be one of his soulmates, or familiars, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And then she passed away, and he was grieving, and here there's this other dog that needed to get up on the bed and peed all over the bed, he said. And then he goes, you know what? Life is going to keep going. It's not going to get easier, but how can I persevere through it? How can I step up beyond what it is to be what it is? What can I do to manage the story that I'm in? Because things are here to teach us, and it's not to punish us necessarily. And I know that I go into that punishment sometimes because I try to be a light.
Yeah.
I want to be a light. I am a light. And yet sometimes my light isn't enough, and so with that I have to find that balance. And sometimes what can we do? We got to keep going, and because life is worth living. I know that for me, I'm at a friend's house down here, and we always do shadow work together. Shadow work is where you go through the underside of things, the why are things happening, and who am I if I release that, and that kind of stuff. And so she's a Capricorn and I'm a Cancerian, so I do her shadow work, because usually if you're on the opposite signs, of the zodiac, that you do each other's shadow work. And so I've been in tears a lot this trip, because it's been something.
Wow.
But at the same time, though, if I didn't do that work, I know that when I go home, I won't be lighter. I won't be there doing things. I won't be doing what I need to do. And that, if I don't do the work, and that's why I help so many people do the life callings. I have perspectives from them because I'm in the mud just like everybody else.
I know, and a lot of people think that people like us that seem to have an in with the other side, or we know a lot about, because that's the work that we do. And they think, oh, we must not have any problems. Or they think we must not have to go through anything difficult. Well, we do. But I think both of us, like Natasha and I, both learned when some of this stuff happens, we kind of go with the flow. If it's grief we have to go through, sadness and that, we just kind of float along with it, and realize it's going to pass, and try to figure out what lessons we're learning in this, and find out how we can be loving and compassionate and kind through these experiences. But everybody goes through it. I mean, even there was a book I read. It's a real great book. It's called After the Ecstasy, the Laundry. And
ain't that a title?
It's great. It was about this man. He went around and he interviewed all of these gurus, these holy men, these people that would spend years meditating and have these ecstatic experiences. And what he found out across the board, whether they were monks, Buddhist, or Catholic, or he had some nuns that were sequestered, people that really, really dig deep into trying to connect with the other side. When they come out of their meditation, or out of their cave, so to speak, and they get into the real world, some of them can't even balance their checkbooks. They can't get along with anybody. Things are happening all over. So, it was a real beautiful thing to read, and it made me relax a lot. Because I kept thinking when I was young, well, if I get more spiritual, I don't have to deal with a bunch of crap. But you do still. But it's how you deal with it.
Yes.
That counts.
Exactly. So, you get tools, and I think that's why I would
tools.
love
Good way to put it.
Yeah, that I would love people to get more awakened. I love to help people be more awakened, and the purpose of why things happen, and how can we manage it, because of the fact that going into life and doing what we do, that it's going to happen anyways. Yet,
Yeah.
how do we do it? And I know that, Veronica says here, there's a lot of people checking out right now. Yes, there is.
Yeah, there is.
And grief is going to be pretty heavy again. You know, we had a big outgo, sadly, because of COVID.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, though, some of those people had contractable times anyways. And it was the label of COVID that happened. But we're going into this next layer here. And I know that September, I'm feeling like that we're in a dance right now, or there's a lot of people prepping to leave, sadly, September, October, November. There's a big dance there. And then there's going to be another one, a smaller shift going into the new year.
Wow.
There's portholes that are happening right now.
Yeah, speaking of COVID too, I think maybe probably mentioned on the show a couple times, but I went to the afterlife myself a second time during COVID, and 28 of us therapists, we swapped sessions, and we did it over Zoom, where they put well, there someone was something about says Medicare plan. Well, I've already got that, so it's coming in my earbuds. 28 of us. Yeah, it's funny, Medicare. You know, we're talking about illnesses.
Exactly. I was kind of thinking synchronicity here.
So 20 of us therapists, we swapped sessions. I swapped a session with the therapist back in another Newton Institute therapist like me back in Alabama. And we did over Zoom. And it was the first time I'd experienced going into trance and going to the other side on Zoom. So that was pretty cool. But when we got to the other side and all 28 of us asked the same questions, and then about COVID, about the vaccines and that sort of thing. But basically what they said about COVID, I mean, on the other side, it's a non-issue. It's like, it's no big deal, because they're saying, well, everybody that died, they're over here and they're fine, you know, so you don't have to worry about them, you know. But then it was kind of like they said, sometimes nature, sometimes things happen, like the dark side of things comes out to help bring people to the light. Mm-hmm. In other words, and that's what I really, most of us got that basically same answer. So we're knowing that there's saying, you know, sometimes what we consider down here really difficult things or hard times come through, like plagues and things like that. And the people that died, you know, they go to the other side, they go back home, so they're fine. But it's a wake-up call for the rest of us. And we've talked about this before, Natasha. There's so many things that this COVID, and, you know, even people say even Trump, you know, with the things that are dysfunctional about that, it's really made us all look at the reality of things. You know, it's made us look about, you know, it's really brought out in front. You can see the evil in the world and the brightness in the world sharper, you know, so that you can decide which side you want to be on, you know, kind of thing. So yeah.
Exactly. And we forgot to mention the intention of this show. So we were going to talk today, and I think that everything we've talked about so far is so much in perspective of how do we get through the hard times? Yeah. How do we get through those moments where we get T-boned in life? How do we get through them? And I know for me that it is about being in the moment, breathing and getting more grounded if you can. And I know breath is one of those things. So thank you, Veronica. She says that's beautiful. The vision of the whole passing thing there, that, you know, it's amazing how much people don't realize what a life-altering experience is.
Yeah.
You know, I really classify life-altering experience is that you go through something that makes you stop.
Yeah.
Something, it doesn't have to be labeled. It doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be anything but just something that makes you metaphorically stop. You know, it could be watching another car wreck a car wreck, and you're not even involved, but it makes you stop and makes you think, and it makes you ponder. It makes you get grateful. It makes you do this. It helps you do that. It brings perspectives. It stretches and pulls you. It makes you emotional in a way, so that even if you're not the one who was in the car wreck, but you still are a little bit emotional watching somebody else go through it. Yeah. You know, and so with that people, I think, discount altering experiences as they don't take it as a pinpoint. Like I always think of life altering experiences, this is how I've always looked at it, is that it's almost like a spot on the map that you can tag, I've been here and I'm going to move from there. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's one of those moments that you can say, I was this way. Now I want to go that way. And I consider, my parents going into, passing away as a life altering experience. I consider what I just went through, coming down here. I consider my trip to California a life altering experience too, because I can even remember yours, me coming to your house last year at this time, that there was so much that I took in that I couldn't have been the same person afterwards. I mean, now I have things, I am the same person. And that's the thing, when you go through a life altering experience, it's not that you change who you are, but you change elements into a new normal. You change elements of yourself into a new awareness, an upper, it's almost it upgrades you into a different awareness.
I like what you just said about it makes you stop. And now all kinds of things went through my mind, and thinking of there's certain things that happen to us in our life, like we're going like busy bees, just all over doing this and doing that and everything. And then something happens, like someone dies or something. And all of a sudden we slow down or we stop and we start looking around. And that's when life becomes really real at that moment, like at funerals. Mm-hmm. I think the upside to funerals is I think it causes everybody to get a sense of their own mortality, and for them to take stock of their lives and find out where they're at, and they realize they're not going to be around forever. And a lot of people, I think at funerals sometimes, they turn their lives around a little bit, change a little bit, because they realize that, they've got to make the most of what time that they have left. But the same goes for like weddings. When you go to a wedding, everybody's in that certain mode, and it gets people to stop to think about the love in their life. Mm-hmm. And where they're at, where that is, whether they're looking for it or whether they have it, or maybe they're in a difficult relationship or something, and it makes them kind of, really look at everything that way. But there's those different things, like, I guess we could call them stopping points in life when they happen, and they're like COVID. Wow. I mean, I think so many people end up buying health insurance after that, and they bought life insurance after that, and they started doing their wills. Some of the lawyers were busy, everybody's doing their wills and things. People started talking to people and telling them things that they wanted to make sure they told them in case something happened to them, so mm-hmm. They didn't, because when we're in that busy mode, we just brush all that aside, and we're just rush, like in a trance or something, and then these things happen, and wow, it's what starts helping people turn, maybe shift or turn their lives around for the better, usually that way.
Exactly. And that's the thing. But I want people to remember, though, that when I said the word stop, and I love that you're talking about this, because it's not about stopping. It's not the action of stopping it, but it makes you go, oh, now what do I do?
Yeah.
And that's when we can move forward, because I know that but it's not a quick, sometimes it's not a quick movement forward, but it is, you feel yourself like getting pulled in different directions because the emotions come through and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So let's see. Stephanie says, I'm so grateful you're here, Stephanie. Standstills are always like the air rushes out for just a moment. Yes.
Yeah.
And that's perfectly said, because that's my intention of the stop. It's not necessarily, it's that air that kind of rushes out, but you get a breath in too, but it gives you that moment of going, oh.
Yeah.
Same
thing. Yeah. Same thing happens when you're so busy, and then you take a little vacation and you go to some place in nature, and people say it just takes your breath away. You stop. It's like you just stop for a minute, and you really realize the beauty of things. How beautiful things are. Where when you're in the rush mode, you can go, right by the most beautiful spot in the world and not even take it in.
Exactly.
But when it hits you, oh, I've had that happen actually. I forget where it was. I should remember, because I remember thinking, wow. it's taking my breath away. And it was someplace in nature. I think it was in Zion National Park. I was not prepared for that, because as you're coming up to Zion, you don't. It's like it's a whole. It's just everything's kind of normal. It's kind of like high desert or something, and then within a few miles, all of a sudden everything changes, and then you're in this. You're in this not cavern, but you're in like a canyon, like, and you're looking up in this narrow canyon, and you think you're going to see a dinosaur at any minute. I mean, it takes you so far back in time, and it just pops up on. It's not like, wow, and I just went, oh my gosh, this was hidden, and that's where the Mormon people settled when they were running away from persecution. They happened to find this place that people would go by and not even see it, this place, and that's why it got named Zion. The Mormons named it, but I liked it even better than Yosemite. But Yosemite's have you been to Yosemite, Natasha?
I have not yet.
Man, well, might be
so life altering experiences don't have to be on the negative. They can be totally in the positive, and we're just like nature in life, we kind of tend to focus on the negative, but it's something that is beautiful. And that's one thing that I think we as humans don't get enough of, is nature. I was just helping my girlfriend put something together, and there was just a few drops there. It didn't rain. I live in Washington. It didn't rain, but there was just a drop here and a drop there, and it felt good. It was that kind of warm rain that just kind of, you just get a drop here and a drop there, and it was enough to just quench the skin just in spots. And it felt so good, to be out in nature,
And when I was in my first experience in the afterlife, and I was coming back from wherever heaven was that I was for a while, it seems like it's out there somewhere, like in space. I mean, that's how I envisioned it. But and I was looking down at the earth, and my guide was verifying with me again that I had decided to do the work that I'm doing now with this life between lives thing. And as I started getting close to earth, I started crying. I was in trance because my facilitator was next to me, and I started feeling this horrible emotional pain. My guide says, you're starting to feel, because of the work I'm doing now, I'm open, just like you do, Natasha. We open ourselves up to feeling, we can sense or feel everybody else's pain. So we have to find a way, because our physical body's going to take so much. So the guy next to me, Rebazar was his name, he says, Regan, if you're going to do this work, and I know this is what you're choosing to do, there's 4 things you have to do, or your physical body will not be able to handle the energy, and you will physically die. So I'm saying, okay, I'm listening. What do you want me to do? But one of the things he said to do to balance ourselves is to spend more time in nature. Like nature. And we all feel that. Look, when you see people that just feel compelled to go to the beach on the weekend, to go on hiking trips, to go fishing, or to just go for a walk in the woods. That's our subconscious knowingness, that we need to do that. That's why some people love to just sit out and spend time in gardens, or they love to do gardening, to feel the earth. It's a very healing, kind of thing. Helps to keep us balanced.
Exactly. So when we do go through stressful times, when we go through those life-altering experiences that aren't so nice, we have to go into self-care. We have to. And it is a little selfish. And it's not necessarily selfish, it's self-worthy. We're self-worthy to be put on the list when we're going through life-altering experiences, and rest a little bit if you need to, and do that thing. Because I know, like for me, I just went through something where it was actually breaking a tide of a lot of generations doing something. And so there's moments where I would just sit there and go, wow, I'm helping heal some big stuff here. And I would get extra emotional about it, because it was my body, not necessarily holding space, but it was my body helping to realize what was going on. And I'm not going to speak about what I was going through, because it's something that I will later. But it's a dance. It's a story. It's a negotiation of what are we doing, but we got to remember that emotions come along with life-altering experiences. And even if it's standing in the most beautiful sunset you ever saw and tears go down your eyes, it's because there's something that touched your soul enough to make this a moment that everything said, whoa.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Something I don't think I talked about this before, but it was something when I was a comedian, ventriloquist, and I got hired to do a show for a big spiritual convention. And what it came to mind was, I thought, let me give a talk about through ventriloquism here, but it was going to be about heaven on earth. In other words, there's places that you can go see that are so beautiful here. You feel it's a slice of heaven, or it's like heavenly, or, it's just so beautiful. It's just marvelous, because we're always talking about the negative and everything like this. Well, there's, nature, God's created so many things that when you see it, you're just overwhelmed, I mean, you can just feel that up from it. So I did this, what I did is I went to the library, and I started looking at. They had videos in the library of nature of different parts in the world, and then I took those videos, I took them out, and then I edited and put together this big thing was going to be on the screen. At the same time, now it's hard to say how I did this, but it was a comedy routine, but it was supposed to be a spiritual comedy routine where people are laughing, but you're going to get to their heart, and you're going to have this message out about how lovely nature is. So I spent weeks on it. I got it done. I did it, and people were laughing and crying so hard that it was one of the best shows I ever did. And it just
Cool.
it got me into just into this nature thing. So when I left the conference, it was on the coast of California. Instead of taking the regular highway inland, I said, I have to go along the ocean all day, just driving home. I have to be in this nature thing.
The
And I'm
101.
I'm just resonating from the beauty of everything. So all of a sudden it's starting to get dusk, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to watch the sunset. I'm going to pull over someplace, and I'm going to just be by myself. I'm going to just be there, and I'm just going to love this beautiful sunset. So I'm driving along, and all of a sudden I'm in this place where there's no place to turn off. It's on these cliffs and everything, and I'm driving, and the sun's starting to go down, and I'm racing because I got to find a place before I miss the sun going down. And I finally, all of a sudden, I'm on this big cliff on the 101, and there's a space. There's only like 3 or 4 spaces, but it's a place. It's like an overlook, So I went, wow, God's showing me this. So I pulled right in there, just as the sun's been going down. And I kind of parked in there kind of crooked because I didn't want anybody else to come in there. I wanted to hold it myself. So I'm sitting in the car, and I'm starting to see the sun going down, and I'm just feeling all this beauty, and I'm seeing the ocean, and it was just the perfect thing. And then I went, why didn't I bring a camera? Just this moment, I want to take a picture because I want to savor this moment. And I thought, stupid, I didn't bring a camera, because now, I've all these things on video and all these pictures. And I thought, oh, that's me, just forget a camera. So then I look out my window, and straight ahead of my windshield on this rock, there's nobody around, is sitting a camera. I got out of the car. I walked up there, picked up this camera that somebody had left there for me, or God had. It was a God. This was
A
how
God
God
moment.
works. A God moment. Yeah. And I just almost wanted to cry. And so I picked up that, and I took pictures, and I blew them up, and I had them in my office for several years, down there. And I even got, when I developed the film, I got to see who the people were. They had taken pictures of each other, and I got to see who they were. So I thanked them. But
Yeah.
so
They were probably bummed.
that's.
I know this was the sunset last night.
Oh wow, yeah.
Where I'm
So,
at, she's got a deck that looks over the valley.
Wow.
And I actually have I had a video last night that I did, and it was just, I mean, my face is really red if it's
It's good. San Diego's beautiful down there. So I'm tying that in today with one of the things people can do when they get knocked in the head with somebody dying on them, or losing a job, or a sickness, or COVID, and these things when we just feel like we just got slammed, with something. And one of the things to help you get through it is to take some time, go for a walk, try to put yourself out in nature, Maybe do some, meditation or praying, however you do that, or spiritual exercises. And also to start thinking about the things that you're grateful for in your life. A lot of times that'll counteract the, 'cause sometimes we have this one negative thing and we think life is horrible. But if you sit down for a moment and you realize the hundreds of things you can be grateful for, then it makes that one big thing not so big.
Exactly. And that's one thing that I can offer to anybody, that all life, all life alternative moments like this, all things that make you go pause, time moves on.
Yeah.
Things change. My parents passed away. My grief moved on. Wasn't easy. I did it.
No.
It was a journey. Still is a journey. Things the day my husband got sober, that was a life-altering experience for the both of us. 13 years later, time moves on. There's other life-altering experiencing moments. I can remember back to stubbing my toe when I was 2 years old. And it was a life-altering experience to me because I felt my dad says, "I got you," and put me on his shoulders.
Yeah.
And so with that, it was a moment where there was a moment that was life-altering because it shifted something about me and my dad. And so there's these moments that we get that are here for us to learn and be, and so going through them, the fastest way to negotiate something is to breathe.
Yeah.
I've practiced this. I've been in some deep conversations that were actually life-altering experiences, and I've heard the word breathe, and that breath brought me down into my body more, and that helped you get through a lot of things. But we can't. Many times when we're in life-altering experiences, we go into reaction.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's okay. It is to go into reaction. We have to. It's self-preservation in many ways. But the thing is, so as soon as you can practice getting yourself out of that reaction, even if it's a beautiful sunset, whoa, isn't that beautiful? Oh my gosh, it's like there's a reaction, right? But then we slow down and we come back and just integrate it in. It's that story, because we do get distracted. We really do get distracted.
Yeah. The tools that I teach when people are going through their most difficult times, that's when they seek out therapists a lot. And even in my spiritual practice and my regular hypnotherapy practice, people come to me and their life's their life's just in the dumpster, they feel, and they need some help getting through it. So one of the things, and I'll mention this often on the show because it's so good and it's something people can learn so good, and that's the Havening touch. It'll help take the edge off of, like, yes, it's taking your hand from the shoulders and just, yeah, that's good. I can see Natasha's how to do it. You're going to feel a physiological change in your body. It's going to shift your energy for the better when you do that. And the second part of the Havening is taking the fingers and breathing all the time, just like you said, Natasha. It's like breathing in and breathing out, and then going, back and forth from that to that. And the third thing is the swiping of the hands, like just very gently. And then you go back from the shoulders down and the heads here. Just anybody watching this now, I'll guarantee, like right now, I just did that and I felt like I got plugged into an energy socket right here, and I can just feel that vibration. But that helps balance your energy out, helps bring you out of the doldrums. And of course, EFT, emotional freedom technique. You can look up that on YouTube. There's people, you can learn that in 10 minutes, and it's remarkable what it does. So, spending time in nature, breathing, like Natasha, what you said, you always remind me of that too, how important breathing is. Of course, we're going to die if we don't breathe, but I mean, deep breathing, getting more oxygen in your body. That's the first thing people should do when they're depressed or they have stress, is to breathe.
Exactly.
It's going to help. It's just scientifically, you breathe in, you get more oxygen in your body. It's going to be like the first team, on the scene, that breath going in there to help you to begin to relax. Because when we're shocked, the first thing we do is we tighten up. You're restricting all the air, you're restricting all the breathing, and your stomach gets tight and your chest gets tight.
Exactly.
So when you breathe, you start opening that up again. So breathing, go for a walk, spend some time in nature, journal. I think, do you journal, Natasha? Well, I know you don't write a lot because you're dyslexia, I know.
Yeah, and it's not my first go-to, which I do a lot of work down here, and so that's one thing I've been told by my guides is that it's time for me to, even if I scribble something down, just get something like a journal with me, and do some of that kind of just quick, even if a download, I get a lot of downloads and I just kind of keep them to myself. And it's like, no, actually, you should put them on paper because there's something in there that people can actually like about something,
Yeah.
So it's one of those things. But, I want to give people the idea, though, that life-altering experiences, these bad moments, COVID, something like that, it can move through. I know for a lot of us, like right now, we're in burnout because we're in the after ripple effect of COVID. And there's a lot of people who really worked to get us through COVID, and they're really burnt out, right? And so we have this energy field of just this heaviness of weight out there. And I know Mercury's getting ready to go in retrograde, which we're used to that, so it's a thing. It's a thing. We got Pluto in retrograde. We got Venus in retrograde right now. Is Pluto in retrograde? So, but it's the summer. We always have the summer of retrogrades. But, there's a lot of things that are really triggering us right now. And those triggers can be life-altering moments because we get sucked in to some of these triggers. And yet, what do we do with them when we're triggered? It's like, oh, do I want to do that again? Oh, I don't really like that story that I've been telling myself, do I? Oh, wait a minute. I've gone down this rabbit hole before. Do I want to go back again? Sometimes our life-altering experiences are these moments where we go, wow, okay. And it's not to punish ourselves, but it's that moment to say, yeah, I can do better. Yeah, I can do better. So if anybody wants to mention online here, what is something that you would consider a life-altering experience? What is the thing that you, if you would like a little bit of help going through it? Because I know that right now a lot of people are struggling with. A lot of us have been holding space for a lot of people, and our bodies are feeling that energy.
Yeah. Well, in the news today, that trucking company, Yellow Freight or something, just is going under and just laid off 30,000 people. Just
Wow.
Isn't that crazy? They're the third largest freight company in the country, and they're going under, and they just sent everybody their notice, and they're going down. And so like right now, there's 30,000 people in the U.S. that are just, how am I going to pay the bills? How am I going to pay my mortgage? And it's one of those things. It's all over the news today, and I thought, wow, that's huge. When one of the major companies just can't, it's just been mismanaged, is what they say, from mismanagement, and it's just caused this
ripple effect of 30,000 innocent people. Well, I wouldn't say everybody's innocent, but innocent beings that majority of them that are like really ready. Sometimes you can, we just saved up for a car, and we got a job, and I'm going to go buy a car. And then that's usually when those life-altering experiences come up. Like a job change or something.
Now, here's what's interesting is a lot of, say, 3 years from now, a lot of those 30,000 people will look back at this and they'll go, that was the best thing ever happened to me, is losing my job there, because they got into either another occupation or they got with another company. That was that way. A friend of mine recently got booted out of a company, and then within a few weeks she found another company she never heard of before, and she's getting paid a lot more than she was at the other company, better hours, better people, and everything. So for a while there, she got laid off. She was like, whatever, but she went out there and moved forward, and now she's better off. Unfortunately, there's going to be some people, there might even be a couple of suicides in this, I mean, that happens sometimes when people can't.
Try not to.
Yeah, I mean, especially because so much of America is paycheck to paycheck, and you don't have that for a while. And then even if you do find something, you spend sometimes years catching up, to bills you couldn't pay but anyway, these hard things happen, I've always been lucky that way though, because I've never had to worry about, I've always been my own boss since I was, I worked at a base service station because my dad was a manager of the department store on an Air Force base, and he helped me get a job at the gas station there working. And that was the only job I ever had that was a paycheck. Since that, I've always had my own businesses. So it's been up and down and everything like that. But I never worried. I figured, well, if something happens to one job, especially when I, learned clowning and I could do balloon animals at a park on the weekend and make enough to eat, if I had to, or juggling or something, or, ventriloquist somewhere, or just, I could do something, but other people, they've just learned one skill, and then when something happens to that, or now with AI, look at the entertainment industry, of which I am a member. I'm a Screen Actors Guild member from spending those years in Hollywood doing movies. And boy, some of them right now are really, really not able to pay their bills,
Oh, I know. That's why they're striking.
Yeah. And artificial intelligence is coming in, and, their writers are afraid that artificial intelligence is going to be writing all the new movies and everything,
Mm-hmm.
So we're in a changing world. What do you think about that, Natasha? Like, can you ask the guides about that, or is that something that you would do? In other words, what they think about this new, is it just going to be something we're all get used to and not be a big deal, or do we need to worry about it?
I think we can, and I'm going to not use the word worry.
Okay.
Everything in this world we can be conscious of. If something in this world gets out of balance, i.e. water, i.e. fire, i.e. AI, banks, government, people.
Yeah.
If anything gets out of balance, that's when it's a negative.
Yeah.
And people are going to be greedy. People are going to think of money.
Mm-hmm.
People are going to think of power.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to misuse it.
Yeah.
There is going to be a lot of good that's going to happen with AI. And there's not.
Yeah.
And it's
kind of like everything else.
Exactly. So to not give you a straight answer, okay. I kind of have a moment where I feel like we're going too fast.
Yeah.
And we don't notice the ripple effects of our fastness.
Well, haven't Natasha, like I've heard, maybe you have more insight than I do, but in like Atlantis or Lemuria or Mu, I think there were other civilizations a lot of people believe before this, and a lot of times they went under or destroyed themselves by the technology that overwhelmed them, where
Mm-hmm.
the greed of thing coming in, and they're not paying attention to things, and then their advancement was their downfall,
exactly,
in technology. So who knows? But we can't. I know sometimes we fear things, and it's just because it's changed. And then we look back, and like now, I remember back when they had the ATMs, and all the bank tellers were going to be out of jobs.
Oh, I remember that.
Big thing. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And when new technology comes in, it's not always all bad. We adjust to it, and then we go, hey, we're better off than we were.
Exactly. Cell phones is a good example. You know, I remember the rotary phone, the one on the phone wall. I mean, it's one of those things that just a couple years ago it seemed like we had house phones. Now nobody hardly has a house phone. So I agree. Sometimes that life altering experience helps us grow, and we eventually find closure. Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm
That's
gonna.
true, Stephanie.
Yeah, exactly. And the word closure, if I can, use the word maybe purposeful. You know, we grow and we eventually find purposefulness. You know, we find wisdom out of it. We find, because I don't know if a lot of us get closure out of a life altering experience. Sometimes it's like the flag blowing in the wind. You know,
I think she means by closure, she finally
says
it finally
okay.
it all comes together.
Yeah,
Comes back
and that
together
makes
again.
total sense too. I mean, yeah, that's what I mean. Sure, it's my experience, yes, and I get it. You know, that it's, you know, everybody has a word that fits them, and I'm grateful because I don't ever want to discount somebody's words. Uh, I'm just bringing perspectives in for yeah, I was able to move forward. Good job. Because that's the thing about life and closures or shifts or that kind of thing. We get to a place where we do move forward. And so good job, Stephanie, because it is about movement. And I don't want to say that sometimes movement is sideways. You know, sometimes movement is sideways to get away from these life altering experiences. I got to get out of here. Stage left, you know. And, and, you going into those dances, it's, you know, I know that you know, like if somebody gets the word, you know, the cancerian word, you know, for a body,
Yeah.
it's like, how more can you get a life altering experience with that, you know, because it's something that you may not survive from. There's some people who, you know, get told that they have to have surgery, and that's a life altering experience because they don't know if they're going to survive it or not.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, I want people to know though that, you know, to get a tool to get through some of these life altering experiences, to breathe, know that this is just a moment.
Yeah.
Know that that as we're going through it, look and see what it's here to teach us. If it's a negative or more of a heavier life altering experience, or is it something that, oh, wait a minute, I can put my 2 cents in here, and or am I supposed to help, or am I supposed to have hands off? You know, it's that tug and pull of where are we with this life altering experience.
Mm-hmm. You know what? I just was thinking too. It's life altering to some people too. I'm going to my brother's retirement party this weekend, and he's a physical therapist.
Mm-hmm.
He has worked so hard. He's probably worked, you know, 50, 60 hours a week for the last 25, 30 years. You know,
Wow.
because it's his own business, and but he's helped so many people. He's so smart. He's so knowledgeable about helping people with their illnesses and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But I was thinking, you know, here he is going to retire, and in a sense, that's life altering because you're so used to this, and all of a sudden you wake up in the day and you don't have to go into work, and there can be a lot of people when people retire. Sometimes everybody thinks of it as a joyous thing, but people have to go through It's a loss. It's like a gain and a loss at the same time.
You have to find out how to manage your own self in your brain, because you don't have a job to distract you.
Yeah, and your soul group, in a sense, people that you've worked with for years and years and years and years, they're like family.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, it's like there goes your family, you know, and the interaction with people, the helping people, in that, you know. So he's going to go in, I think, 2 days a week, and because my nephew actually it became a doctor now and is taking over the business,
Mm-hmm.
But he needs a lot of help still. So, you know, that's a good thing. You know, I mean, he's going a couple times a week. That'll help kind of keep his foot in there a little bit. He'll be able to see people and do all that. But it's really scary. You know, that's why so many times when people retire and they don't have any plans, they don't know what to do, they lose everything, they go into depression, and they die. You know, we heard that.
Exactly.
A lot of people do that, when they
Oh, I
retire, they
remember.
just,
Yeah, I remember a gentleman up the street from that the day he retired, the next day his heart went.
yeah,
Which was sad because I know that his wife was really looking forward to traveling with him.
yeah,
And I've told my husband left and right, we can't wait till tomorrow. Sometimes we got to do today.
yeah,
Even if it's a little bit more, or we have to manage it, but we have to do today. So Stephanie says, thank you, Stephanie, for or who everybody for communicating here.
there,
There are
yeah,
no shortcuts. Let lots of self work, shadow work, and gratitude. I love that.
yeah,
Yeah, because we can't take the shortcut through it.
no,
The more we try to take a shortcut through it, the longer it lasts.
yeah. Because I know we got about 10 minutes left here, but another topic, because I'm only saying this because I'm gonna forget. If I wait till the end of the show, I'll forget. But we could do a whole show on shadow work and
Oh.
the importance of looking at your stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Being brave enough to turn around, look at that shadow. Because you and I have both done a lot of work. When I started doing shadow work, that was life changing for me. I just had to be man enough to look around, look at all my crap, and it's the hardest part is turning around at first to see it.
Yeah.
Once you see it and decide to do something about it, it's actually not so bad, and it
Yeah,
ends up being a
exactly.
wonderful thing.
Yeah, she says,
Yeah,
thank you. That's a delightful topic. Yeah, we'll plan
yeah,
that next time.
yeah.
I will be home next Monday, so I will
Okay.
try to remember to write that down at the. I don't have a pen right with me, so.
Yeah, and
Ti-
it's like how to overcome the fear of looking at our shadows. You know,
mhm.
something like that would be good.
Yeah,
But yeah, I think that'd be a great topic because we all have a shadow of some sort. Some are big shadows, some are really tiny shadows. And it's about our guilt and it's about our wish I would have, or
yeah,
wish I, that kind of thing. And we can maybe offer some ways of helping and uh, give people the something so that the confidence that they can look at it,
yeah.
that
Exactly,
way.
exactly. And Veronica says that will be a good topic too.
Yeah.
And that's I know that, like Veronica here, she's keeping her head above water. I know she is, and because
Hmm.
she's got things going on with some family members, and and I mentioned that because I want to send you love, Veronica. That you're doing a good job, and blessings to you on this journey, because it seems like sometimes life altering experiences can last for longer than just a moment. They can last for a couple years,
Yeah.
because it's like the story of that scenario has had some life altering uh, moments in it that just keep us on our toes, let's say. And so when we have these life altering moments that keep coming, you know and we get worn down, that's why we whatever we can do to find gratitude, whatever we can do to find love,
Hmm.
whatever we can do to find enjoyment. Sorry. Oh, I don't mean to do
Gonna
that.
make me yawn too.
I'm so sorry. I've been holding it off.
No,
My brain turned
see,
on like at
that's
3:30,
what's
4 o'clock
funny.
this morning, and so I have not
Yeah.
stopped. I have not slept since about 3:40, and so now I'm like hitting my slow time. So I so apologize.
That's an example of being suggestible. In other words, for good hypnosis subjects, the more suggestible they are, the easier it is for them to go into trance.
Hmm.
And that's one way we see subconsciously how we're suggestible. Like when you see somebody yawn, and then like now I'm trying to hold back a yawn. In other words, I'm suggestible. Like holding it back right now. So, and probably people watching this now, just because we mentioned that watch at home, they're probably
They're
yawning.
wanting to yawn. I've been trying to hold it back for like about 15 minutes here.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that, I just yawned too, Veronica says.
You should probably be a good hypnosis subject. That
Exactly,
way.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
But
One session. Yeah. Go ahead.
go ahead.
While I'm interrupting you, go ahead. Okay. I'm just going to say another topic sometime too. I'd like to spend a 15, 20 minutes just explaining to people about what hypnosis really is rather than what people think it is, because it's not what people think it is generally,
Yes.
And I'm so surprised that they don't understand how natural and normal it is. And it's a natural human process where we're in and out of hypnosis all day long, And so I don't know, I guess it's Hollywood did that, or in these hypnosis shows, because generally speaking, most people can't be hypnotized as easily as people that go up in front to be hypnotized on a hypnotist show.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
what,
And bark like a dog and
yeah,
chirp like a cat. And chirp
yeah.
like a cat because they'll make
Chirp
you
like,
chirp like a cat. So it's one of those things. But those kinds of things, I want, like I was at a show the other day, and it was interesting how, see, it's a life altering experience when it keeps circling back around in your mind,
yeah.
right? That those moments, it's like, what did I learn about that? And I know that I've had a couple on this trip, and going to a show, and it was he was on America's Got Talent, and he was the
Oh,
comedy, the psychic comedy, or the comedian, psychic comedian, or something like that. And he was really good. He was very psychic about things, things that you couldn't have known. Um,
mm-hmm.
but he was really circling in on this kind of intuitive work. So when you circle on that, but getting perspective when we go through these life alterings is what is the surroundings of it? What was really happening? Like, let's say if we had a car wreck, that we watched somebody in a car wreck, or we were in a car wreck. So what is it that we remember seeing around it? Because there are things that happen in a moment, and where is it? It's like today I had a little gecko, and he got in the house. He was just a little baby gecko.
Yeah.
And we caught him. I caught him and took him outside, and then
Oh,
he sat on my hand for the next 10 minutes.
oh, wow.
He wouldn't get off. And finally I had to kind of, because I needed to get going, I kind of did it. But that there again is another moment that life made me stop.
Yeah.
Made me stop and think about it. And so with that how do we manage that? So we're coming down the last minutes here, and it's today's a day that I'm gonna kind of scoot out, but when we're going through them, remember that it is a moment to stop. It is a moment to think. It is a moment to ponder. It is a moment to be emotional if you need to. It is a moment to say, wow,
Yeah.
I think I'm going to get some different perspectives here. So trusting that process and knowing that it might linger for a couple days. It might linger for a little bit longer. It just depends on what it is.
Yeah.
But life moves on. We are all good. Life is going to be a little interesting. Mercury's going to go into retrograde soon. I think it's the end of August into the beginning of September, and a little bit into September. Remember that 3 weeks in, it's kind of like you got to get it started. So 3 weeks in, and then we're in it for 3 weeks, and then we're walking out of it for 3 weeks, and that's about. So be careful what you're saying to people. Be careful what emails you send. Be careful about your technology, cars, just different things like that.
Yeah.
So Regan, how do people get a hold of you?
Oh, yeah,
go ahead.
Thank you.
I'm interrupting you.
I'm just going to say, you've taught me to learn that, like I mentioned before, that this retrograde stuff is actually a good thing, because it causes change. It causes disruption and things, and it's part of this thing with change. It helps make things change. And it helps us to be more mindful, because, like you say, you want to. Maybe it's not the best time to rebuild your car. Wait a couple of weeks or something.
Exactly. Now,
But
retrograde things are. Some people were born in retrograde, so they're fine. You're fine with that. But sometimes if you are working on a car, start working on it before, like now, and work through it. But Venus is also in retrograde, so be careful what we do.
But the other
for a
thing
while.
is too, you could just go ahead and work on it and realize that you might have some extra learning experiences or go through from difficulties you have to get around. Like there'll be more
Exactly.
roadblocks, and then you're going to learn. You're going to, instead of throwing the tools, you might just, and you'll learn a different way of fixing it, or you'll learn patience, or you'll learn something, So it's all good, depending on how you want to look at it. People can get a hold of me at Visit the Afterlife. It's right on the screen. visittheafterlife.com, and there's some great videos on there. You can actually watch a young lady that's going to heaven and back on there. There's videos about how this was discovered, this process that allows the average person to have this experience where they can experience the afterlife for several hours, and all that entails, which is amazing. I've done it twice, and it's life altering, to say the very least. So go ahead and go there if you need some. And I also do regular I'm a clinical hypnotherapist, so I'm also really good at helping you with anything to do with PTSD, any traumas you've been through, stress, fears and phobias, bad habits. Even if you want to stop smoking to lose weight, those are pretty simple things, but can help you by doing hypnotherapy with you. And Natasha, what about you?
You can reach me at angelicclarifications.com. Natasha Venter, AC, Venter, V is in Victor. We're all human, and I love to give perspectives to humanness to help us get through life's hardships, getting T-boned by life, just that moment of what do I do now? I really enjoy. It's my life soul calling to really bring enlightenment to this world. So I can help you through that with a lot of different types of sessions. I have them on my website, angelicclarifications.com. I love to be here with you. So Regan and I are here Mondays and Wednesday. Regan and I are Mondays at 4 o'clock Pacific time, the Dance of the Soul. I am on Life Clarifications with Natasha, 4 o'clock Pacific time on all Natasha Venter AC channels. So blessings to you. Thank you. And Stephanie, thank you. You're more than welcome for tonight. I'm so grateful you were here.
Stephanie.
Thank you for your comments. And I'm so grateful for comments and just being. And if you know anybody who wants to be on, watch our show, please spread the word. Please like, follow, subscribe, whatever you need to do, whatever platform you are on. And then what was the other thing that was good? Oh, Life Clarifications with Natasha podcast. These shows are on
Wednesday at 4, right?
4 o'clock, but podcasts. You can find podcasts on lifeclarifications.com, on like Spotify, and I think even on a lot of other places. Just look it up. I'm a loss for words. I've been up since 4 o'clock this morning, so I'm kind of like getting rummy. So blessings, everyone. Okay. My love is with you. See you on Wednesday, and I'm going to. There's something that's been happening in my life, and I got to figure out what I want to talk about on Wednesday.
Yeah.
So blessings, everyone. Bye now.